See if we got anyone. All right, we're live on Facebook. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Roger Paul, and tonight we're going to continue our study on the universe power directors. And we're in section 2, and we're in paragraph 2 on number 2, Havona centers, and that starts on 321, page 321.4, or paper 29-212. What does it say? Host screen sharing. Just hit OK. Yeah, you can get that. Okay, so let's say a little prayer and we'll get started. Father, thank you for bringing us together tonight that we might study your wonderful revelation. Pray that you'll watch over us tonight. Help me keep myself under control tonight and not rant and rave like I did last time. Pray that you'll open our hearts and minds that we might remember a little bit of this and share it with others. We thank you for the opportunity to do this. We thank you for all of our listeners out on Facebook and Truth and YouTube. That's the truth. YouTube and Vimeo, all three. We thank you and give you the praise in your son, Michael, Jesus of Nazareth. Amen.
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 And hello, everybody. Hi, Letch. Hey, Jane. I didn't get
Hello.
And let's let Diane start out tonight.
Of time and space. Power centers were not required in Havona, but ever since these far distant times, 1 million have functioned in the central creation, each center having the supervision of 1,000 Havona worlds. Here in the divine universe, there is perfection of energy control, a condition not existing elsewhere. Perfection of energy regulation is the ultimate goal of all the power centers and the physical controllers of space.
Okay, so the Havona centers don't have to worry about controlling it because it's perfected in Havona, right? So what they're trying to do is get all the energy centers all the way out in the 7 super universes and even beyond to get to that point of perfection that they have in Paradise and Havona, okay? And that's the goal, getting together. And you can see this picture of the Havona centers and on each one of the pilot worlds of of Havona, the circuits.
Roger,
Yeah.
it doesn't, that's all it says. I wonder why they didn't function in the central universe until the 7 super universes were created.
I assume, Rodney, because of the perfection of Havona, they didn't want to, as they say, rock the boat, right? So they didn't want to mess with the perfection of Havona. So they literally created the new centers for the 7 super universes, right? So that's why there's the super universe centers. Make sense? So it's something to do with equilibrium, probably. That's
what I was thinking.
Yeah. All right. Let's go on. Gary, would you take the next one? Super universe centers.
Super universe centers, occupying an enormous area on the capital sphere of each of the 7 super universes, are 1,000 power centers of the 3rd order. 3 currents of primary energy of 10 segregations each come into these power centers, but 3 specialized and well-directed.
7 specialized, Gary.
But 7 specialized, and what did I say? Oh, 3.
3.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But 7 specialized and well-directed through imperfectly controlled circuits of power go forth from their seal of united action. This is the electronic organization of universe power.
Okay.
They have
They have 7 specialized but notice it says though imperfectly controlled. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's not like Havona. The 7 super universes are not considered perfection as far as the electronic and magnetic control is. Okay. The other thing is this: for each of the 7 super universes, there's 1,000 super universe centers. Okay. And they're all on Uversa. They're located on Uversa. So all the power for all the super universe comes from the capital Uversa and goes out through all the 7th super universe. And that's true on each of the 7 super universes. All right. And it's interesting, they say here, this is the electronic organization of universe power. Now, what does that mean? That means everything from the planets, the magnetic fields, all the way down to every single little atom in all 7 super universes are controlled. The electronic part of it are controlled through these power centers. So if you want a first cause or a first source, why do you think they're talking about this? This is why they're explaining this to us. Okay. So if you as a scientist keep looking for a first cause of everything, it's because of these power centers, and these power centers are because of what? Directly the infinite spirit, right? And what did the infinite spirit come from? The universal Father, right? So if you're looking for a first cause, where do you look? Universal Father, first source and center on everything. Everything physical, everything that moves, everything that's electronic, everything that's magnetic, every circuit out there, every type of everything from electronic signals that go through the atmosphere to wireless, to everything comes through these beings. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. I'm confused though. Not surprising.
Not you.
Huh?
Not you.
Yeah, me.
I'm joking.
This sentence says 3 currents of primary energy of
Right.
10 segregations each come into these power centers. So that means we have 70 sources of power, or 70 different types of electric power coming in.
That's exactly right, Gary. And we don't know about hardly any of them.
So we don't know if it's 7 different sources or 7. I mean, it's
No,
70
there's not only 7 sources, but there's there's 10 segregation of each one of those sources, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that means if there's 10 segregation of 3, that means we got 30. You still with me? We got 30 different types of energy coming from these power directors. Now, do we know about all of them? No, we don't know about hardly any of them. That's what I'm saying. Most of these sources of energy are undiscovered by human beings.
And we think we're smart.
And we think we're smart, right? We're just now developing solar power, right? We've known about it for, a few years, but really there's power out there in the universe, and Tesla knew this back in the 30s, right? There's power out there in the universe that we can tap on into that will run everything in our world.
There is if you believe in the extraterrestrial stuff or whatever you want to do, but there's supposed to be a belief out there that there's enough energy in 1 square foot or 1 square yard of air to power a medium-sized small city.
Yeah.
And if we
I got one better for you, Gary. There's enough energy in 1 drop of water to power a whole city. 1 drop of water. Okay, think about that.
Mhm.
That's a lot of energy, right?
Yeah,
But we have not discovered how to tap into it. We just, in the last 50, well, 70 years now, we just in the last 70 years discovered how to tap into nuclear power, right? But that's just the beginning. You have the power of the, not only, there's molecules that's smaller than the electrons, and they have enough power to power things, but we don't know how to access it yet.
So, Roger,
Yeah,
I've read in the Urantia book that somewhere they called the Owl of Paradise the nuclear Owl of Paradise.
nuclear out, that's right.
So I'm wondering if this is nuclear energy.
Yeah, I see where you're going with this, Rodney. It's not like that nuclear. They're talking about nuclear being center. Okay. In other words, so the nuclear Isle of Paradise is the center of all things. Not the nuclear as in sense of nuclear
Okay, I
power.
understand.
Yeah.
So, but my other question is, when a super universe is completed, how many universes are within it?
Well, once a universe is completed, there'll be 100,000 universes, local universes within a super universe.
100,000.
100,000.
So there's one super universe center per 1,000.
100,000.
Per
100,000. Yeah.
per,
So there's a thousand of
100
these centers that's taking care of the 100 super universes,
Right.
100,000 super universes, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel.
And the breakdown's phenomenal. Yeah, Jane,
in a local universe,
pardon me?
how many planets are in a local universe?
10 million will be in a local universe. There's 10 million in each local universe. We're not even close to that yet, Gary. We're only about 40% done, I think, our local universe.
We're considered pioneers then.
Yeah, yeah. Our local universe is only about 40%, 40 to 50% complete.
Okay.
Some people quote 60, but I've read in the book it says 40. So, yeah, Jane, what was your question?
My question is this. So we do learn and understand from the Urantia book that the Isle of Paradise is the source of all energy and all that we see. Everything comes from there.
That's correct.
And you just explained to Rodney that it is not nuclear, but could we call it a nucleus?
It's a nucleus. That's exactly right.
Nucleus.
When they say that term in the book, they're talking about nucleus as in the center of a organization, right?
And can I then, for my sake of comprehension in a limited way, can I understand that to be the essence of all?
It is. It is. That's the source of all things. You
Essence.
think of, they say that paradise is the source of all material matter, even though in paradise there's 1,000 more molecules than there are in the 7 super universes. In the 7 super universes, a segregation of only 100 different combinations of material. Okay, and there's if you go to the nuclear, to the table of elements and stuff, we're not talking about that. Okay, because there's more elements than that. There always has been more elements than that. But what they're talking about is the aggregation of molecules that are considered complete by itself. There's 100 in each super universe. Okay, because if you make yourself crazy trying to say, well, wait a minute, the elemental, there's 130 something in the elemental table or something like that,
Yeah.
But these are variations. All right.
How can you explain that differently? Because you just went from There's 130 elements in the periodic table, but only 100 of them are,
Actual atoms. Only
Okay.
100 of them are combinations of what they considered molecules for the 7 super universes. Okay.
okay, and what are the
But
30
but-
then?
the other
What-
30 are
Combination.
combination or aggregation of those molecules missing a electron or a neutron, a proton, or variations of it. Okay.
They're just
So
unstable compounds or elements, I should say.
yeah, right. Now, the point I'm making is in paradise, there's not 100, there's 1,000. Okay.
Hmm.
So that's the point of this. That is this. I didn't want to get too far off in this, but the point of that is this: all material matter comes from paradise. It originates in paradise. Okay. So when the creator sons go out to their local universes to create space, the unqualified absolute pulls the primordial matter out to that space, and the architects of the master universe and the master physical controllers start to manipulate that primordial matter to create nebulae, planets, the whole 9 yards. Okay. But it originates from where? Paradise.
And they only give them 100 elements to work with.
And they give them 100 elements to work with in the 7 super universes. If they were creating in Havona or Paradise, they'd have 1,000. That's a good example, right?
And Roger, all
Yeah.
energy comes from paradise as
It
well.
does.
So these would be considered substations.
Yeah, they do. Plus, the energy in Paradise is different than the 7 super universes, right?
Hmm.
I've got a chart it's in the forward, I believe. I think it's in the forward. I believe, of the breakdown of all of this, all the molecules and all that stuff. And y'all have seen it before, you just probably don't remember it. So, all right. No sleeping, Jane.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
You caught me. You caught me.
I caught you yawning.
You
No.
did.
Diane says, I don't know if I can stay awake tonight.
Busy day.
It's
We've
been
been so
crazy.
busy, and it's just warmer.
It's the heat.
It's hot here.
Yeah, it's warmer.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the
Keep
next.
us awake, Roger. Keep us awake.
All right.
How hot is it in Canada?
Yeah,
It's better than Atlanta, I tell you that.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Yeah, it's hot.
It's very pleasant, but it's getting
Yeah.
hotter.
That's probably where they came up with the concept of hell, right? Living in
I'm sure, yes.
Rodney, would you take the next one, please?
Yes. All energy is circuited in the paradise cycle, but the universe power directors direct the force energies of neither paradise, nether paradise,
Another paradise. Yeah.
as they find them modified in the space functions of the central and super universes, converting and directing these energies into channels of useful and constructive application. There is a difference between Havana energy and the energies of the super universes. The power charge of a super universe consists of 3 phases of energy of 10 segregations each. These threefold energy charge, this threefold energy charge spreads throughout the space of the grand universe. It is like a vast moving ocean of energy which engulfs and bathes the whole of each of the 7 super creations.
That's a pretty good example, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
know, It kind of just bathes everything. It controls everything. And this little picture just shows the 1,000 controllers there and Uversa, right? Or the 1,000 power centers, I should say.
It's interesting they say 3 phases because
3
That's-
phases.
what we have here.
We have three-phase electricity, don't we?
That's
right.
right. And they're all equal.
They're
Oh.
all equal. And the interesting part is we know about the 3 phases, but we don't know about the 10 segregations each
Exactly.
of the 3 phases, right? And which makes you wonder, Rodney, is in the future as scientists and explore these concepts, if they were actually discern or discover those 10 segregations on each one of the 3 phases, right? They may be useful for different things, you know, which is kind of interesting. All right. Let's see. Jane, I believe you're up next.
Yes. Okay. The electronic organization of universe power functions in 7 phases and discloses varying response to local or linear gravity. The 7-fold circuit proceeds from the super-universe power centers and pervades each supercreation. Such specialized currents of time and space are definite and localized energy movements initiated and directed for specific purposes, much as the Gulf Stream functions as a circumscribed phenomenon in the midst of the Atlantic Ocean.
So as we discover these, all right, this may explain how, if you want to talk about aliens, this may be how spacecrafts from alien civilizations can move here almost instantaneously through the circuits of the universe. You
They
follow me?
ride current.
They ride the current. You know, it's like surfing. Okay. But you have to know about the current before you can ride it, right? So we're not at that point. So you think we're ready to go to Mars? I kind of doubt it. You know?
No.
Okay, let's move on. Lech, would you take the next one? The local
Okay.
universe.
Local universe centers. On the headquarters of each local universe are stationed 100 power centers of the 4th order. They function to downstep and otherwise to modify the 7 power circuits emanating from super universe headquarters, thus making them applicable to the services of the constellations and systems. The local astronomical catastrophes of space are a passing concern to these power centers. They are engaged in the orderly dispatch of effective energy to the subsidiary constellations and systems. They are of great assistance to the creator suns during the later times of universe organization and energy mobilization. These centers are able to provide intensified lanes of energy useful for interplanetary communication between important inhabited points. Such a lane or line of energy, sometimes also called an energy path, is a direct circuit of energy from one power center to another power center, or from one physical controller to another controller. It is an individualized stream of power and stands in contrast to the free space movements of undifferentiated energy.
Okay, so think about this. A creator sun has to know and understand all these different types of energy, okay, and phases of energy. All right, and these centers, the local universe centers, helps the creator sun to manipulate energy and power so that this local creative mother spirit and the creator sun can manipulate the stuff to make the local universes. Okay, so think about this. When Jesus was on this planet, he was concerned with what? Revealing the Father to us in the brotherhood of man, right? But in his background, he has the knowledge of physics, electronics, things that we had no idea, no concept of anything else. So can you imagine a creator son trying to bring himself down to the level to talk to the ants, right? That's what we were. We're like a bunch of little ants. So you can see why he could only relate certain information to us, right? Because we're not on his level. We probably will never be on his level. You follow me? So if you want something to adore your creator son about, think about just this, right? Think of the knowledge he had to have to create these universes. Pretty amazing, it really is. All right, let's go on to the constellation centers. Pam, would you take the constellation centers, please?
Constellation centers. 10 of these living power centers are stationed in each constellation, functioning as energy projectors to the 100 tributary systems. From these beings, there go forth the power lines for communication and transport, and for the energizing of those living creatures who are dependent upon certain forms of physical energy for the maintenance of life. But neither the power centers nor the subordinate physical controllers are otherwise concerned with life as a functional organization.
Okay, what are they talking about here? There are certain beings that do not eat food, do not drink water, okay? They get their sustenance through these power centers, okay? So much like the angels do, the angels get recharged through the circuits of the universe. So they don't have to eat. They don't sit down at the table and eat food and drink water and that sort of thing. And there are whole planets that function the same way. They don't eat food, they don't drink water, they get all their sustenance of life from these centers of physical energy, okay? So when they get up in the morning, they don't have a cup of coffee. They might tap into the energy lines and have a sip of energy, but they don't have coffee.
Oh, it sounds like they have to recharge their batteries.
Their batteries, quite often, right? Probably every day, just like we eat every day, they recharge themselves every day. And this is a picture of a local universe center like Salvington, ours, and 10 constellation centers of the constellation of Norlatia, okay? And then it shows Jerusalem, which is our system capital, and other system centers. All right, now let's go on to the system centers. And Diane, would you take that?
System centers. One supreme power center is permanently assigned to each local system. These system centers dispatch the power circuits to the inhabited worlds of time and space. They coordinate the activities of the subordinate physical controllers and otherwise function to ensure the satisfactory distribution of power in the local system. The circuit relay between the planets depends upon the perfect coordination of certain material energies and upon the efficient regulation of physical power.
Okay, so you can see in this picture, we have the capital of Jerusalem, right? And it's these system centers that gives out power to the individual planets of time and space, okay? So you can see how this breaks down. Now there's still one more, it's called unclassified centers. And let's read about that and we'll move on. Gary, would you take the unclassified centers, please?
These are the centers who function in special local situations, but not on the inhabited planets. The individual worlds are in the charge of master planet controllers
No,
and
physical
receive
controllers.
master physical controllers, excuse me,
Yeah.
and receive the encircuited
Yeah.
lines of power dispatched by the power centers of their system. Only those spheres of the most extraordinary energy relationships have power centers of the seventh order acting as universe balance wheels or energy governors. In every phase of activities, these power centers are the full equal of those who function on the higher units of control, but not one space body in a million harbors such a living power organization.
So now you understand the importance of all these different types of centers, because everything that's alive, from the highest being down to the very lowest being, down to every molecule and atom, depends on these centers. You with me? So they actually help life happen. Okay, as far as power goes. I'm getting wet here from the cat. Okay, Rodney, would you take the next one? Domain of the power centers.
Yes. The supreme power centers distributed throughout the super universes number, with their associates and subordinates, upward of 10 billion. And they are all in perfect synchrony and complete liaison with their paradise
progenitors, yeah.
The seven supreme power directors. The power control of the grand universe is thus entrusted to the keeping and direction of the seven master spirits, the creators of the seven supreme power directors.
Now y'all understand why I took so much time explaining the master spirits, don't you? Because everything comes down from that, right? And the supreme power directors. All right. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Jane, would you take the next one, please?
Okay. The supreme power directors and all their associates, assistants, and subordinates are forever exempt from apprehension or interference by all the tribunals of all space. Neither are they subject to the administrative direction either of the super universe government of the Ancients of Days or of the local universe administration of the Creator Sons.
Now, why do you think that is?
They're perfect.
If they had apprehended one of them, everything, it's like a pyramid, it would collapse.
Yeah.
You know? So each and every one of them has a function, and without them in that function, nothing would work right. Makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
So they can't apprehend them, they can't bring them before the Ancients of Days, and they can't bring them before the Creator Sons, right? Because their job is so important, they can't leave it. All right.
Can't they have a substitute?
Only that's what these unclassified centers can do, Gary, is be a substitute for them in case they're needed somewhere else for a short period of time. Okay.
It's like scaffolding. You can't take a piece out.
You can't take a piece out or the whole thing falls apart, right? Exactly. All right, Fletch, would you take the next one?
Sure. These power centers and directors are brought into being by the children of the infinite spirit. They are not germane to the administration of the sons of God, though they affiliate with the Creator Sons during the later epochs of universe material organization. But the power centers are in some way closely associated with the cosmic over-control of the Supreme Being.
So they're so important they can't do without them, right? Not at all. And they're not required for the administration of running the universe, are they? Because they're not required to administer the universe, but they are required to be there for the functioning of the universe as a grand unit, right? They can't do without them, period. That's all there is to it. So that's why they're separate from the Ancients of Days, the Creator Sons, and all these other things, because they can't do without them. They can't be interrupted for minute detail things, right? That's
So what
the-
they're saying, they supply the power and everybody else makes the decisions.
That's exactly right. Right. All right. Let's see, Pam, I believe you're up next.
Power centers and physical controllers undergo no training. They are all created in perfection and are inherently perfect in action. Never do they pass from one function to another. Always do they serve as originally assigned. There is no evolution in their ranks, and this is true of all 7 divisions of both orders.
So when they're created, they got everything they need. They don't have to be trained or anything else. They already know what their job is and what they're supposed to do, and they always do that job, right? All right.
Though they are in an evolving universes,
Right.
they don't evolve at all.
They don't. They stay the same, right? Always. Kind of like paradise, right? Stays the same, never changes.
Having no ascendant task to revert to in memory, power centers and physical controllers never play. They are thoroughly businesslike in all their actions. They are always on duty. There is no provision in the universal scheme for the interruption of the physical lines of energy. Never for a fraction of a second can these beings relinquish their direct supervision of the energy circuits of time and space.
So they can't leave their position or where they are ever, right?
So Roger, does that mean that they never get a break?
They never get a break.
No refreshment.
No refreshment. They don't have lunch. They don't take coffee breaks. They don't have breaks, period, right?
They're
They're
the
always-
ultimate workaholic.
They're the ultimate workaholic. They're content in doing that, and that's what they do, right? I am what I am, right? That's just the way they are. All right. Let's see, Gary, would you take the next one, please?
Directors, centers, and controllers of power have nothing to do with anything in all creation except power, material, or semi-physical energy. They do not originate it, but they do not modify. But they do modify, manipulate, and directionalize it. Neither do they have anything whatever to do with physical gravity except to resist its drawing power. Their relation to gravity is wholly negative.
Okay, so they don't create the gravity. They can only resist the gravity in their function of the electronic part of the universe, right? Now, what do you think that is? You know, it has to be that way, because if they didn't have negative gravity, then the gravity of the of paradise would always just draw everything into itself, and it would collapse, right?
Yeah,
All right, so
the negative is needed. It gives them the
negative,
force.
just like the positive, right?
Yeah.
Right. Rodney, would you take the next one, please?
The power centers utilize vast mechanisms and coordinations of a material order in liaison with the living mechanisms of the various segregated energy concentrations. Each individual power center is constituted in exactly 1 million units of functional control. And these energy modifying units are not stationary, as are the vital organs of man's physical body. These vital organs of power regulation are mobile and truly kaleidoscopic in associative possibilities.
Okay, so if we could see one, they would probably look like they were morphing constantly, right? Like a kaleidoscope does, you know, because they're manipulating these energies all the time.
Wow,
All right. Yeah, pretty special.
pretty wow, yeah.
Yeah. Jane, would you take the next one?
Okay. It is utterly beyond my ability to explain the manner in which these living beings encompass the manipulation and regulation of the master circuits of universe energy. To undertake to inform you further concerning the size and function of these gigantic and almost perfectly efficient power centers would only add to your confusion and consternation. They are both living and personal, but they are beyond your comprehension. We could
Enough
just
said about
say,
that.
wow.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No other way to explain them, is there? Okay.
No,
Let's, would you
you
take?
shouldn't
Oh, yeah.
worry too much about what's happening here.
No, it's all taken care of. Been that way for billions and billions of years, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Let's, would you take the next one?
Okay. Outside of Havana, the supreme power centers function only on especially constructed architectural spheres or on otherwise suitably constituted space bodies. The architectural worlds are so constructed that the living power centers can act as selective switches to directionize, modify, and concentrate the energies of space as they pour over these spheres. They could not so function on an ordinary evolutionary sun or planet. Certain groups are also concerned in the heating and other material necessities of these special headquarters worlds. And though it is beyond the scope of Urantia knowledge, I may state that these orders of living power personalities have much to do with the distribution of the light that shines without heat. They do not produce this phenomenon, but they are concerned with its dissemination and directionization.
So we can't even comprehend.
There is a lot of background noise,
Like,
Roger.
I hear that. I don't know where it's coming from, though. I don't see anything lighting up on my screen with anybody either, so I'm not sure where it's coming from. Lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
Oh, the light without heat. So they have a lot to do with the function of light without heat. They tell us that they have places in the universe that are lit, but they're not hot. They don't have heat. So if you saw, let me give you a for instance, if you were in the center of one of these things, like a sun, okay, that has light without heat, you could be right in the middle of it, and not get hot, basically, what they're saying.
Like LED lights.
Like LED lights, right. So kind of interesting concept. It's interesting concept because back in 34, 35, when the book was coming through, we had no idea of anything like that, right? None. So this was, as they say, part of the revelation. It was a real revelation to us, right? All right.
Yeah.
I wonder what Tesla would have thought about this book.
I think you would love it.
Yeah, probably so. Okay. Who just read? Jane?
I did.
You did? Okay. Pam, you're up next. Pam, you hear me?
Yeah, the power centers and their subordinate controllers
Yeah.
are assigned to the working of all the physical energies of organized space. They work with the 3 basic currents of 10 energies each. This is the energy charge of organized space. And organized space is their domain. The universe power directors have nothing whatever to do with those tremendous actions of force which are now taking place outside the present boundaries of the 7 super universes.
So they're not working in the outer space levels yet, right? The universe power directors.
I wonder where the outer space levels get their power.
That's from the architects of the master universe and the master physical controllers, right?
Okay.
Okay. All right. Diane, you're up again.
Power centers and controllers exert perfect control over only 7 of the 10 forms of energy contained in each basic universe current. Those forms which are partly or wholly exempt from their control must represent the unpredictable realms of energy manifestation dominated by the unqualified absolute. If they exert an influence upon the primordial forces of the absolute, we are not cognizant of such functions, though there is some slight evidence which would warrant the opinion that certain of the physical controllers are sometimes automatically reactive to certain impulses of the universal absolute.
So 3 of these out of the 10 are controlled by the unqualified absolute, and we know the unqualified absolute uses the architects of the master universe and the master physical controllers to manipulate energy. But apparently, because it's of the unqualified absolute, there's 3 more levels that the unqualified can manipulate that they cannot do in the 7 super universes, right? Has something to do with the creation of places. All right. Gary, would you take the last paragraph there?
These living power mechanisms are not consciously related to the master universe energy over control of the unqualified absolute, but we surmise that their entire and almost perfect scheme of power direction is in some unknown manner subordinated in this supergravity presence. In any local energy situation, the centers and controllers exert near supremacy, but they are always conscious of the super energy presence and the unrecognizable performance of the unqualified absolute.
So they sense one of the 7 absolutes, the 7th one, the unqualified absolute. They feel, I guess they know it's there all the time, right? And this includes in the 7 super universes. Why would this be the case in the 7 super universes, not just the outer space levels? Because the 7 super universes are still developing, right? Just like our local universe is only a certain percentage done, the unqualified absolute is still busy in this local universe. You follow me? So they sense the presence of the unqualified absolute, and they also sense the presence of the impulses of the universal absolute. Why would that be the case? Because it's the universal absolute that kicks in the deity absolute. So it's the deity over control of the unqualified absolute. Makes sense? Y'all still with me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Didn't want to lose everybody on that. All right. I think that's all I need to say about that. Okay, let's go on to the master physical controllers. All right, and that would be, oh man, they jumbled up my screen, so everybody's out of order again for
I
me.
think I'm next.
Okay, go ahead, Rodney.
These beings are the mobile subordinates of the supreme power centers. The physical controllers are endowed with capabilities of individuality, metamorphosis of such a nature that they can engage in a remarkable variety of auto-transport, being able to traverse local space at velocities approaching the flight of solitary messengers. But like all other space traversers, they require the assistance of both their fellows and certain other types of beings in overcoming the action of gravity and the resistance of inertia in departing from a material sphere.
So they have the same problem we do when you try to leave a planet. It takes a lot of energy to get off the planet, right? That's why the guardian angels, leave the planet from the spiritual pole of the planet so they can hop on the circuit and take off, right? Because if it wasn't for that, they'd have the same problem leaving the planet because of the gravity of the planet. Make sense?
It's kind of similar to in Star Trek. Their warp drive has what's called the inertial dampers, which means that it controls the fact that we would be flattened by the velocity of that speed.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder if some of these things, these UFOs or whatever you want to call them now, they keep changing the name of them. But if the reason they can take off at 0 point and just disappear in an instant of life may be the same thing, Fletch, right? I mean, it may work exactly the same way. So it makes sense anyway.
Yeah.
So, all right. Let's see who's up next. Jane, I think you're next, right?
Okay. The master physical controllers serve throughout the grand universe. They are directly governed from paradise by the 7 supreme power directors as far as the headquarters of the super universes. From here, they are directed and distributed by the Council of Equilibrium, the High Commissioners of Power, dispatched by the 7 master spirits from the personnel of the associate master force organizers. These high commissioners are empowered to interpret the readings and registrations of the master Frandalangs, those living instruments which indicate the power, pressure, and the energy charge of an entire super universe.
Can you imagine somebody coming to see and say, I'm from the Council of Equilibrium?
We're reading your meter. We're reading your meter.
Yeah.
What we need here now.
Yeah, we need a council of equilibrium for our political situation, right?
Will they tell us you're overcharged?
Yeah,
you got too much power coming in.
You got too much power coming in. That's right. All right, I think I just zipped through.
Can you explain what the frankincense or whatever that thing?
Yes, the Frandalangs. Yeah, they are. We're going to get to them down near the end of this paper, but they are living instruments to determine power and pressure. And then there's another one, Gary, that's called the chronodex, and they have to do with keeping time on everything. Everything in the universe has a time system. And so the chronodex keep proper time throughout all the different variations of the planets and universes and all that. So they're literally living indicators of how much power is being drawn or how much time is being used, right? The Frandalangs and chronodex. Right.
So Roger, when they say nothing is lost in the great computation of the universe is correct.
That's correct.
That statement is correct.
Somebody's always keeping track, right? Always keeping track. All right, let's go on to the next one. Let's see. Let me get my bearings here again. Lech, I think you're up again.
Okay. While the presence of the paradise deities encircles the grand universe and sweeps around the circle of eternity, the influence of any one of the seven master spirits is limited to a single super universe. There is a distinct segregation of energy and a separation of the circuits of power between each of the seven super creations. Hence, individualized control methods must and do prevail.
Okay, so everything is segregated right under one of the seven master spirits. Okay, and that goes all the way down to the physical, right? The control of the physical. All right. Let's see the next one. Pam, you're up. Could you take the next
Master
sentence?
physical controllers are the direct offspring of the supreme power centers, and their numbers include the following: associate power directors, mechanical controllers, energy transformers, energy transmitters, primary associators, secondary disassociators, Frandex and
Frontal decks. There you go. That's all the different types of being having to do with the master physical controllers. Okay, and it's interesting they have here energy transformers, they transform energy, right? Energy transmitters, which transmit energy. And then they have primary associators. I guess they bring something together. And then they have secondary disassociators. So they take something apart, right? So they cover all their stuff. And the Frandelanks and Chronodex keep track of the pressure and the time. And here's a nice little picture of all of these. All right. Notice on the Frandelanks here, they got a little meter across their chest. You see that? Kind of like you'd see on a meter. And the Chronodex have like a timepiece on them, right? They keep track of time.
Like the atomic clock.
Like the atomic clock, that's right.
The Frankendex may be to visualize it on our level would be equal to volts.
Volts, yeah. They keep track of the pressure of the volts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. All right. Let's see here. Who's back up? Are you up again, David? I think you are.
Not all of these orders are persons in the sense of possessing individual powers of choice. Especially do the last four seem to be wholly automatic and mechanical in response to the impulses of their superiors and in reaction to existing energy conditions. But though such response appears wholly mechanistic, it is not. They may seem to be automatons, but all of them disclose a differential function of intelligence.
Roger, you're mute.
Let's go. So the primary associators, the secondary disassociators, and the Frandelanks and Chronodex appear to function automatically. You follow me?
Mhm.
They don't have as much choice as the others do.
They're not free will creatures.
They don't seem to be free will creatures. They just function as they're supposed to, right?
Yeah.
All right. But they apparently are very intelligent. They just don't have free will, right? Like we do. Okay. All right. Just see, Gary, you're up again.
Not all of these orders, is that what it is?
Right. That's right.
Not all of these orders are persons in the sense of possessing individual powers of choice. Especially do the last four seem to be wholly automatic and mechanical in response to the impulses of their superiors in reaction to existing energy conditions. But though such response appears wholly mechanical, it is not. They may seem to be
Automatons.
automatons, but all of them disclose the differential function of it. That has been read.
You pronounced it
We
better than I
just
did.
we just read that. So let's read the next one, Gary.
Okay.
Did a good job, though.
You did a great job. You're doing so well. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, that was excellent.
Personality is not necessarily a
Concomitant.
concomitant of mind. Mind can think even when deprived of all power of choice, as in numerous of the lower types of animals and in certain of these subordinate physical controllers. Many of these more automatic regulators of physical power are not persons in any sense of the term. They are not endowed with will and independence of decision, being wholly subservient to the mechanical perfection of design for the task of their allotment. Nonetheless, all of them are highly intelligent beings.
Okay, so they function and they don't have free will though, right?
Right.
All right, now we're going over 702. So let's stop here and we'll take it up from here next time. Because it's like robotic almost. Yeah.
What we're creating now.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, the robots that create things on their own, that's pretty much what these robots are. Except they don't have mind, right? Right.
Sure.
All right, so let's say a little prayer and we'll close for the night. I'm getting feedback from him here.
Takes
See if
a
I can-
very
Let me mute her real quick.
short.
There we go. That should be better. Yeah. Okay, so let's have a little prayer and we will quit for tonight. Let me start sharing. Okay. Rodney, would you like to close us in prayer tonight, sir?
I think I'll pass this evening.
No, that's fine.
I think Gary, right.
Yeah.
Dear Heavenly Father, we've enjoyed this time together to study your book and to come to different realizations about the creations that you have created to make everything work for us, for everything, for everybody. It's important to know that and to realize that we are very unique in our ability to have free will and to become one with God, you, Father. It is such an honor that you have given us such a path of a clear path to you. We thank you for this lesson tonight and bless each person's heart and mind. And hopefully we'll all keep an open mind to continue to learn and grow in this wisdom that you provided for us. In your name, Jesus Christ, Michael of Nebadon, we pray and give thanks. Amen.
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 And thank you. Oh, that's why I was getting feedback. I just didn't mute, did I? Thank you all at home who joined us. See you next time. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.